friends, and welcome back to my study. I think most of us know someone who claims to be an atheist. Maybe we know someone who claims to be an agnostic. But I'm wondering, is it possible to be an atheist in the truest sense of the word? Let's talk about it. So, the question, is it possible to truly be an atheist in the truest sense of the word? I know there are many that claim to be atheists. And if you ask an atheist what exactly is an atheist, their response is likely to be, I don't believe in God, or there is no God. Not quite the same as an agnostic. Agnosticism says that I don't know if there is a God, or even there is no way to know if there is a God. A little bit more honest. But I would attempt to show you in this short video that, well, quite frankly, it is impossible to be an atheist. Now, atheist comes from the Greek word theos. Now, theos, T-H-E-O-S, in the Greek, means God. If you put the A in front of it, sort of a negative, no God. In the same way that the Greek word for knowledge is gnosis, G-N-O-S-I-S, and if you put the A in front of it, basically saying no knowledge, or agnostic. It's just a quick aside, if you remember in Scripture, the Gnostics, well, they believed that salvation was attained by special revelation of knowledge. And it was this knowledge that could lead them to salvation, basically of their own efforts. They also believed that everything that was material was evil, so there is no way that God could have come to earth in the form of a human. Jesus born in the manger as a little baby, since all matter is evil. It's just what they believed. But it's interesting that the exact opposite of that would be agnostic, because an agnostic person is basically saying, I don't have any knowledge, or it's not possible to know. But that's agnostic. And I would submit that atheists are actually agnostics. Here's why. And this is something that was taught to us in Bible college those many years ago. You can make the statement that there is no gold in China, and that's an absolute statement. There is no gold in China. However, unless you know what is in every single shop in China and what is in every single Chinaman's mouth in terms of gold fillings, you cannot make that absolute statement that there is no gold in China. You simply cannot know, because you don't know everything about China. In the same way, you cannot make the statement there is no God, unless, of course, you know everything about everything. And you don't, because nobody does. So really, what you are is an agnostic. You have no knowledge of God. Now, maybe you believe that it's not possible to know if there's a God. I don't know. But what I do know is that many claim to be atheists. but in reality they're agnostics. Because nobody knows everything about everything. So if you don't know everything about everything, then how can you make the blanket statement, there is no God? You can't. Now, on the other hand, to be a believer, what does it take to be a believer? Well, going back to the illustration about gold in China, all you have to do is find even the smallest piece of gold in China, and then you can boldly proclaim there is gold in China. Can we make that bold proclamation that there is a God? I think that if you look at the preponderance of evidence, you could make that claim. Ex nihilo, out of nothing. The standby argument when it comes to creation. Where did it come from? Life doesn't come from non-life. Something doesn't come from nothing. And so on and so on. And there are a lot of evidences, a lot of a preponderance of evidence that would give the indication that yes, in fact, there is a God. I do believe there is plenty of evidence to suggest that there is, in fact, a God. Creation is only one part of it. Paul wrote in Romans that the God, even the very Godhead, can be known by the things which are made. So God reveals himself through creation. I remember a sermon series I did, again, many years ago, about foundations for our faith. And the first sermon was, God is real. And I listed the evidences for the existence of God. The second sermon was called, The Bible is True. And I listed all of the examples and the evidence to show that the Bible is, in fact, a supernatural book. And I used science and history and prophecy. And then the third series was entitled, Jesus is Alive, the third sermon in the series. And I listed the proofs for the resurrection of Jesus. So at any rate, I think an in-depth study into these subjects, if not able to convert someone to being a believer, would have in some way to make them understand that, okay, I'm an agnostic. I just don't know. And the bottom line for that is simply because unless you know everything about everything, you cannot make the blanket statement that there is no God. So that's my whole point. So we move from claiming to be atheist to understanding you're really just agnostic. You have no knowledge. So anyway, I hope that helps. If you ever encounter someone who claims to be an atheist, and by the way, this is not to start arguments. You'll never win anyone to the kingdom of heaven by arguing them. It's just not going to happen. Many people they have their minds made up. And I have had civil conversations with self-professing atheists and explained to them why it is impossible to be an atheist. And it's funny because they would shake their head. They would agree, well, that's true. I don't know everything about everything. And then I would ask, so we are in agreement. You cannot be an atheist. And they would say, oh, no, I'm still an atheist. They are just so convinced that there is no God. So anyway, use this for your own edification, for conversation, but not for argument. All right. God bless and bye for now.